Welcome to the Ain't Dead Yet podcast, episode 4. Today's guest, Tony Reyes.
Let's go.
Tony is the director of partnerships for BPN, also known as Bear Performance Nutrition.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to BPN.
Shout out.
We're the hoodie for you today.
I love that. Look at that.
Man.
That's an OG hoodie too.
It is.
That's an old school BPN hoodie.
It is, man. It's lasted the test of time.
It's only high quality at BPN. You know that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't knock that. This hoodie's been through some stuff. Tony's also a father, a husband. He's also a member of what I consider the 100-plus pound club. Pretty tight club there.
That's a tight club.
It's a tight club. It's a special connection. Not a lot has to be said, but a lot's understood.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Yep. We were proud members of that club. We need jackets.
Oh, I like that.
You know?
Yeah.
Some members-only jackets.
Maybe like starter style.
Starters, yeah.
Big puffy
Little
jackets.
former fatty jacket, you know?
Yeah.
Couple patches.
I can dig it. I can dig it for sure. On today's episode, we really wanted to take some time and talk to the viewer, the listener, on some of the challenges that come with being a part of that 100-pound plus club. What that journey looks like, what it feels like, and what it's like to continue on. I think that from my seat, my perspective, I've seen a lot of people with successful weight loss stories, and any weight loss is a successful story, but you catch my drift. I see a lot of different conversations around those stories, though, but none of them really involve the way it feels. Most of the stories are celebratory of, way to go, you did amazing, you look great, you're crushing life. There's this big high that comes with that. But to get to that point, to get to that place, is a long road. It is a long road filled with, from my experience, loneliness, pain, FOMO, everything.
Oh, yeah.
It's loaded. So that's why Tony's here today, because one, he and I can relate on that level, but he's been at this for a while, and he's been sharing his story for a while. Super public facing. His page, and we'll definitely drop it down in the description, Focus, Fight, Finish. That's on Instagram. That's his handle on Instagram for sure, and I know on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it pretty much everywhere is Focus, Fight, Finish.
Okay, cool. Across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I locked down the handles years ago.
I love that. Yeah. Good move. I think we all would have done something different if we would have known what we know now as far as locking down those handles.
Dude, yeah, for real.
Yeah.
For real.
Some people got some cool ones by total accident, but either way, that's what we're going to chat about today. That's where we're going to dive into. First things first, man, just to kind of get the party started, if you will. Where did you grow up originally from, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I'm from California, which is like a dirty word in Texas. I'm from California, and I grew up in the desert, Victorville, Hesperia area, which is kind of like like directly in between Vegas and LA. When I grew up there was like nothing there. It was a small desert town. It's definitely come up ever since I left. They've got like more restaurants there, and a couple movie theaters now, which is very cool. I remember like there's a kind of town like when Dairy Queen opened, it was like, oh dang,
yeah,
cancel your plans. This is what we're doing this weekend, is going to Dairy Queen. Yeah, so it's a small town, and that's where I grew up. I lived there till I was 20, and then I moved to Orange County, kind of like right by Disneyland, and lived and worked in Orange County and LA for 12 years, and then moved out to Texas a year and a half ago.
Awesome. The Texas connection started before a year and a half ago, though, correct?
Yeah. So you mentioned I work at BPN, and actually before I was working at BPN, I was a BPN ambassador, and then got bumped up to be a BPN athlete. I had come out to Texas a few times for ambassador weekend where they like flew out all of us ambassadors and like we got to hang out and work out and we got to talk to Nick. And it was like a really, really cool experience because I've looked up to Nick for a really long time. So I was like, holy cow, I got to like meet, one of my idols. And then I came back as an athlete. They did a documentary about me running a marathon. And so I had been to Austin a few times and I just kind of fell in love with the city. And, when I kind of was just over living in California and just decided to move out here.
Texas.
So
the reason I'm glad you explained that timeline, my first exposure to you, I've been thinking about this the past couple weeks because it's interesting how everything unfolds and why it unfolds in life.
Yeah.
I first moved back to Austin October 2020.
Okay.
I departed. I was here at one point for work. I'd left and went to Atlanta, and then I moved back as part of my sobriety, weight loss, life transformation story.
Yeah.
But I remember vividly in that time frame from October 2020 to about February 21, kind of just being in a groove, super focused on my nutrition, that sort of thing. And then when the freeze happened in 2021, February of 2021, that was my first exposure to BPN and Nick Bear. Mm. And at that point, I was on Instagram looking for anything BPN and Nick Bear. And then I came across you. And I was like, oh, well, this is relatable. Yeah. This is super relatable. And at that point in time, you were well ahead of me in my journey. So it gave me...
Oh, really?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it gave me a ton of motivation.
That's cool.
Right? Like seeing someone else going through the same thing.
Yeah.
We had a connection without ever speaking. That's the cool thing about social media. You can connect with so many people and you don't even have to say anything to them.
Yeah.
But it's relatable. So seeing someone else that's on their journey, when you're in your journey or in that transformation, not that it really ever stops, I think is impactful. It was super helpful to me. And so I've been thinking a lot about that and I wanted to tell you that, like, that was, you might have been the first or second, like, follow or connection after Nick Bear in February of 2021 when I first had that exposure.
Wow. That's really cool, man.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, man. So I appreciate you for being ahead of the curve and sharing your story public facing that far ahead.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, I really appreciate that, man. I mean, I'm glad that helped, I mean, that's like the whole reason. There's two reasons why I ever started posting in the first place. The main one is a selfish reason of I'd failed every single attempt before to lose weight. And so I just decided, hey, if I put myself out there and put my goals out there and put myself, just show the dark sides of what I was going through, it was going to help me hold accountability, which is what I always struggled with, was accountability, because I would have these secret goals and these secret weight loss goals that no one ever held me accountable to. I didn't hold myself accountable to them because no one knew about them. So I was like, oh, well, I'm just going to not keep going at this goal because no one knows about it anyway. So it was like much easier to quit things. But once you put it out online, it's a lot harder to quit things because of, the fear of what everyone's going to say. So that was number one. But number two, which is just as important to me, is like, I know how it feels to be obese. Like, I've been morbidly obese my entire life. And I would reach out to people online, try to, hey, I've seen, like, I would see someone like lose weight or something. And I just like reach out. What did you do? Could you give me any help? Could you give me any tips? And almost never got responses from people, which was a little disheartening because, I would hope there was like more of like a community aspect there. And so everyone that I would reach out to really kind of just like ignored me, or, I mean, I'm sure what it was is they just didn't see the message because like how can you see every single message? But it was important to me that when I started my journey, like, okay, hopefully someone will like get motivation from this and start their own journey. And if I do ever like have any type of, success or like a platform or whatever, if someone reaches out to me, I'm going to make it a point to respond to every single DM that I ever get, because like, I know how it feels to not get a response. And, whether it's like I respond on the same day or respond like a week later, I always make it a point that my mailbox is like at 0, because that was why I started this whole thing. So for you to say that means a lot, and just kind of speaks to why I started this in the first place. So yeah, man, I appreciate that.
Of course, and I can verify that is true. You've never left me on red.
Never
Once left me on red, and I can relate to that so deeply. That feeling of reaching out and looking for connection, and being left on red or not red at all.
Yeah.
And as much as you want to be upset with the person, you kind of understand it too. Yeah, it's like, man, everybody's got a lot going on.
Yeah, well, and especially like I was reaching out to people who have like, hundreds of thousands of followers. Like, well, of course, they're not gonna see my one message or my one comment on their post. Like, it's ridiculous to think like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's just always important to me.
Yeah, I love that. The other big thing with being outward on social media like that is, and I'm learning this as kind of this podcast has gotten started, but also in my sobriety journey, when I started posting publicly about it, there's a ton of positive feedback. People reaching out saying, "Hey, thank you for sharing your story," that sort of thing. I'm still learning on not being affected with the one negative comment out of 100, whether it's about my sobriety, my weight loss, whatever. My first YouTube comment on my first podcast.
Dude, YouTube is brutal.
Dude, my first comment ever was basically like, "Hey, we're glad you finally started your estrogen hormone replacement therapy."
Jesus.
And I'm like, man, that took some effort. Like, that was deep.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. I reacted poorly. I didn't respond, but I deleted the comment. And I was like, that would have been a great opportunity for me to spread love.
Yeah.
So hard lesson learned, full transparency, full vulnerability.
Yeah.
But that's been a tough thing for me. So I was wondering if you faced anything similar being as outward.
Let me tell you something. I've gotten so many hate comments. It's crazy. I got one the other day where I posted like, me swinging kettlebells or something. And I was like, oh, like Relentless 100. I'm down 30 pounds. Like, here we go. And someone said, just brutal. Yeah, but you're still fat. Like, damn, dude. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But like, dang, man, that is rough. That's just kind of the name of the game. I've been posting online since I was in my young 20s. Like, I think probably like 23, 24. So like, I'm 37 now. I don't give a rip what you say. Yeah. Like, I really don't. And I think that's something else. I was just talking about this with some coworkers today. They were like trying to like, mess with me about something. And I was like, listen, when you get to my age, I'm 37. I could care less what people think about me. I could care less about what people have to say about what I'm doing. Of course, there's always a few that sneak through. Yep. You'd be lying if you say you don't care. But overwhelmingly, I could give a rip. I almost cuss. I don't know. Are we cussing on this?
Yeah, it's free flow.
Okay. I could give a fuck what people have to say. I really could.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm just gonna do me. I'm trying to put as much positivity in the world as I can. I'm trying to help as many people as I can. Number one, I'm trying to help myself because I am still on the journey. I'm trying to do this for my family. And if someone else has a problem with what the fuck I'm doing and how the fuck I'm doing it, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. Because there's too many people in the world. And you could be the, like someone said once, like, you could have this beautiful apple tree and it could make the most delicious apples and like perfect, juicy, crisp, you know what I'm talking about? The perfect apple.
Yep.
And someone could just be like, yeah, but it's not an orange. Yeah. And it's like, well, damn, dude. Yeah, it's not an orange, it's an apple. But so it just doesn't matter. I've gotten a lot of hate comments, and I used to let it bother me and do the same thing. I would delete comments or block people. But that's just what they want. Because they affected you when you do something like that. And so I'll go through and I'll like it, or I'll just like, oh, like much love, or, I'll do some snarky stuff sometimes, but because I just have fun with it. Because obviously, if you are a grown person posting on another grown person's thing, something negative, something hateful, your life is shitty.
Yeah.
Like, That's just what it is. That's just where those are the kind of people who post those kind of things.
It's a reflection.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So like, my bad. I'm very sorry for you, and I'm moving on, and it's all good.
I love that. And I think that's a great reminder for anyone out there who's not just doing something online, but trying to transform their life or go through change.
Mm-hmm.
Understand that not everyone is going to understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
But it does not matter. It
doesn't matter. No, and no one understands the journey unless they've been through it. You've been through it. You understand the journey. I mean, damn, your journey's crazy. I like, you can only do so much to explain and like to try to tell people what you're going through. But if they haven't experienced it themselves, they're not gonna get it. And if they don't get it, they're gonna, and they're hurtful or hateful, they're gonna talk shit, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it too. The first big question that I was thinking about with you, because what's interesting about this podcast for me, and I shared this with you before we started recording, but I had written out 3 scripts of like, hey, we should go this direction, that direction. And then I remembered our lunch and I was like, that's stupid. We just need to flow.
Yeah.
Because there's so many similarities between us that, we could sit here and all day and pick apart our differences for sure. But the similarities are what we can share to help others.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking about selfishly myself, and I was like, man, I wonder if Tony had some of these same experiences, and that's what could relate to others too. When you were younger, a kid, running around, being a kid, doing kid things, was there a lack of awareness or understanding or knowledge around nutrition in your childhood? Like what was healthy, what wasn't?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like I grew up in a Mexican household. My parents worked a lot, so most of the time I spent at my grandparents, or it was either at my school, or my grandma would come pick me up from school. I'd stay at her house until like basically bedtime. I would do my homework at her house. I would eat dinner at her house. Then my mom would get off work from the hospital. She'd come pick me up, take me home. We'd do like bath and then go to bed. That was like basically my childhood. And during the summer, both my parents worked, so I would spend most of the summers at my other grandma's house, just all day, and just like eating whatever I wanted. I mean, my grandmas, they're very Mexican grandmothers, very typical Mexican grandmothers, where it's like beans, rice, lard, tortillas, tamales, like all that stuff every day, all day. And if you don't finish your plate, there's something wrong with you. And you're going to get multiple servings. So it was just like a lack of awareness and lack of really like other options. I mean, like my grandma one grandma would have like a huge bag of gummy bears around at all times. Love gummy bears because of that. Shout out Grandma Strata. My other grandma would have just like, cookies and chips and Cheetos and Pepsi and just all that stuff. Shout out Grandma Reyes. That's just what it was. And it wasn't like they were doing anything, bad per se. It's just, that's what they had available. That's what, they thought was good for kids to eat. And, I don't know. It just, I didn't really think about it until like, I don't know. I probably didn't realize that I was like actually like a bigger kid until probably like, I think like 6th grade is where it was really evident. Like, oh, I'm the fat kid. I went to 6th grade camp at Catalina. And so we went to Catalina. My dad came, and I remember like there was things that my dad could do and that all the other kids could do that I just couldn't do. Like my dad, like for instance, we were supposed to go scuba diving, and my dad put on a wetsuit, and I had to put on a wetsuit. I couldn't fit. Like in 6th grade, I was bigger than my dad was, and that was when the first time I was like, oh dang, I'm big. I'm really big. I'm bigger than my dad. Like, what the hell is going on? That's not regular. That's not normal. And so I think it was after 6th grade that I really started to like take on that persona and take on that identity of the fat kid.
Makes sense. And I think my timeline's close to that as well.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm with you, I don't think that there was definitely no malintent behind my family or anything like that. I do think it was a lack of awareness. For my family, I would say genetics also play a large role. My mom's side of the family, they're string beans. Mm-hmm. My mom might weigh 105 pounds. She's tiny.
Yeah.
Absolutely tiny. My grandmother might weigh 110. So that's that side of the family. On the other side of the family, my dad's side of the family, everyone's been heavy. Everyone's always been heavy. Well, I spent most of my childhood growing up with my mom's side of the family. Well, they ate whatever they wanted. They still do.
Right.
My body wasn't built like that.
Yeah, no.
And as a kid, I didn't have awareness of this at all at the time. But as a kid, if you're unhappy emotionally, you eat more. That's like the first vice.
Yeah.
For me, that was my first vice, was food. I was sad. I ate Oreos. Mm-hmm. My mom would make a roll of cookies every single night. Toll House.
Oh, shout out Toll House.
Dude.
Oh, God.
Still to this day, I made a post the other day. I once a week still go on Crumble's website and see what they got going on.
Dude, I had to tell my wife, literally, I was like, you got to stop bringing Crumble cookies into this house. Because my willpower is going to give in one day, and I can't have that.
It's horrible.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's like 1,000 calories a cookie.
Oh, dude.
Literally. It's crazy.
It's unreal. It's unreal. But it's funny how those things from your childhood carry into your adulthood. You brought up gummy bears. I'm sure you still have a thing for gummy bears.
I can't even look at a gummy bear.
Yeah.
Can't even look.
No.
Whew. It's too much.
Yeah, that's how I'm with cookies. I still have that same thing. So we both kind of aligned time frame wise around 6th grade, being a heavy kid. Would you say that it was around that timeline that you started getting negative attention from like peers around your weight?
I mean, definitely. But like I went to somehow my parents strung together enough money to send me to a private school. I mean, we were like, lower middle class, but I did go to a private school through 6th grade, and the kids there were all like, honestly, pretty nice. Like, I never remember like being made fun of. I never remember being called like fatty or anything, like be called names or anything. I don't remember that at all. So I I never got bullied through 6th grade, but then, I think business wasn't as booming. And I went to private school or to public school, 7th grade, and then stayed in public school, 7th, 8th, and then in high school. And that's when I found out quickly that kids had something to say about how fat I was. So yeah, that's when that kind of started. But I don't remember anything before that.
Yeah, I don't want to get too deep down the psychology trail here, but I find that there's an interesting connection there in my brain. Mm-hmm. I also went to public school. There was a lot of bullying occurring in public school.
Yeah.
I didn't have the private school experience, but I've heard very similar to your experience from others.
Yeah.
I'm not going to dive deep on it, but I wonder what that is, right? I do, but I don't. I kind of have an idea maybe of what that is and why that's a thing. The bullying
in public
schools versus private school.
Yeah.
But I won't dive too deep into that. I feel like it's fairly obvious for people listening. So with that, the bullying comes. My experience with bullying, I dealt with it through trying to prove myself in different ways. Or I would basically dive into what they were making fun of. So if it was my weight, we would go eat a lot of food, and that made me cool. But I was still a fat kid, right? I was like, oh, Trip can eat a whole large pizza. Trip can eat 60 chicken wings.
Yeah.
Trip can eat 10 hot dogs. And for me, that kind of attention felt good too, because it was like, well, at least that's something that is receiving positive feedback.
Yeah.
So I was just curious about your upbringing, your childhood experience, to see if there was bullying, what that felt like, what that looked like at that young age, and what impacts it might have had on you.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being bullied a lot in 7th grade, and it was my first like look into public school. I mean, like my first day or my first week of public school, I remember someone stole my Pokemon cards. Like a kid, he was like, "Oh, cool, let me see the Pokemon card," and I was like showing him, and like he did this like goofy maneuver. His friend like walked across, and they like crossed paths, and like handed the card off like they were in a movie or something. And I'm like, "Hey, can I have my cards back?" And they're like, "Well, what card? What card?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." And then I like pretended to be like it didn't bother me. And then I started crying about it when I'm walking to class. And I remember thinking like, damn, this is not St. Timothy's. Yeah. Like this is different. Yeah, 7th and 8th grade, was bullied. And then I think by 9th grade, I was like, I'm done with this like bullying thing. And I remember someone threw a sandwich at me in 9th grade. I had just dislocated my knee, so I had crutches. So I was like crutching through the cafeteria. This kid throws a sandwich at me. I get up. I hobble over there. I throw the sandwich back at him. He jumps up, punches me in the face. I punch him. And like he was like a skinny kid. I don't know what the hell he was doing punching me. Because it's not like I'm some tough guy, especially back then. But I was fat. I was huge in 9th grade, you know? And I'm like, what are you doing? I punched him and his body just like fell to the ground, knocked unconscious. He was unconscious for like 5 minutes. It was very scary. I thought he was dead. It was super scary. We both got suspended. But then after that, my PE coach, I remember coming back to class and he was like, oh, he was like bouncing around. He was like, oh, watch out. Here's Rocky. And like making fun of me. But he called me Rocky, and that nickname stuck. And so all through high school, I was called Rocky Reyes, and it was like so dope. It was literally like the coolest. Like I got it embroidered on my Letterman's jacket senior year. It was a gift that Coach Chapman gave me. I'll never forget him for that. So, but after 9th grade, it didn't happen much after that. So it was really just like 7th, 8th, and 9th grade.
Got it. Yeah, that's interesting, and I also got in a fight in 9th grade.
What, dude? Yeah. What the hell?
And suspended. Sorry, Mom. Yeah.
How long were you suspended for fighting?
5 days.
Oh, I got 3.
Yeah, it was 5 days, and someone was getting bullied.
Uh-huh.
A girl was getting bullied by a senior and upperclassman. I was a freshman.
Yeah.
He was also a football player. Or he might have been 10th grade. Either way, he was a grade above me at least, if not 2. He broke up with this girl who I kind of grew up with. We were super close friends. And when he broke up with her, he said something to her that I'll never forget. And I haven't shared with a lot of people, but I'll share it here today. Might as well. She'd lost her mom to drug addiction.
Oh, my God.
And something within that world. I don't know the details. I don't know if it was because of the drugs or if it was something else, right? But the drug addiction was probably part of the reason.
Yeah.
But when he broke up with her, he told her, why don't you go kill yourself like your mom did? And
brother.
Yeah.
Kids are ruthless.
Rough.
Oh my God.
So I went home and I told my mom. And I called my dad in Tennessee, told him. And I told them what I was thinking about doing. And I think the statute of limitations is up, so they can't get in trouble at this point. That's been almost 20 years. It'll be 20 years this year.
Uh-huh.
So I went into school the next day and found him, and we got it on in the hallway.
Yeah.
And I would like to think that I won. I'll let people answer that were there and saw it. But
yeah,
I remember after that happened, people treated me differently.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you wonder, within bullying especially, like I think about it all the time, if I wouldn't have gotten in that altercation, would the bullying continued through all of high school? Right? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But I'm willing to entertain the idea that some people that would have potentially bullied me in high school chose not to because of that.
100%.
Yeah.
Bullies only bully people that they know they can get away with bullying. Like I would have been absolutely continue to make, but it's like, it was very public. It was in the middle of the cafeteria. Everyone's there. I knocked this kid unconscious. I'm not, again,
Yeah.
I don't know why this kid was fighting me. He was like 80 pounds. It was so stupid. But like, that was a very helpful moment for me. Like, I would absolutely do it again. You know, like you know, I'm not saying I'm a violent person, but like, it's also like, if someone's fighting you and like you're hit, like you gotta defend yourself. And especially if you're someone who gets bullied, defending yourself is huge. Standing up for yourself, it really only takes like that one moment, and other bullies like will at least take notice. I'm like, oh, okay, if I say some shit, he's not afraid to like get it on. I don't want to deal with that. I'd rather just like pick on somebody else that's just not gonna like say shit.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I think the other thing that's important for people that are struggling with bullying, like another resource for them that's important in today's day and age, is having friends who also build them up and defend them.
Yes.
Like, you know, somebody that they can, like their right hand, that'll defend them and back them up. And you hear stories now, they're starting to come out more and more about a person defending someone who was getting bullied. And I won't lie, every time I see one of those, like, it gets me fired up.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So get through high school. What, out of curiosity, what's your weight at senior year? Where are you at?
Senior year, I was 320 pounds.
Okay. So
and like not muscular, not like, I was very weak, 320 pounds. So it was just all fat.
Yeah. So about 320 ending high school. And then that number, like, was there an effort from there until you got to the 406 to lose weight? Like,
there's so many efforts, dude. I mean, like, I started trying to lose weight in 8th grade.
Okay.
8th, or I think 7th grade is when I started. I did Atkins for a while. I did some other diet. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. But I remember like my parents would be like, hey, if you get, actually, no, I think I was even in like 5th or 4th grade to where they were talking to me about like losing weight, but I didn't really think of anything of it. They were like, well, if you get down to like, 200 pounds, I think this was like 4th or 5th grade. If you get down to like 200 pounds, we'll get you a bike. We'll get you, like, I remember my dad talking about this, this like motocross bike or something. I was like, oh, all right, that'd be cool. But then, did nothing with it ever. But yeah, I'd done so many, before I hit 400 pounds, I mean, so many different diets. I've done them all, Atkins, South Beach. I did a bunch of meal replacement things. I did just all kinds of stuff, man. So yeah, no, it was, I think I've probably tried this like maybe like 8 or 10 times, something like that.
Yeah, I asked that specifically because I think that that's a common trend.
100%. Yeah. So many people are, they go all in, they have a great month. They have a great month and a half. And then they realize they pick something that is completely unsustainable. Mm-hmm. They went way too hard out of the gate, and now they're, gaining their weight back, which I did a million times.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that that's what most people can relate to. Mm-hmm. I know that for me, the only thing that kept my weight in check for many years was athletics. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I think I might have played athletics or participated in athletics just so I could eat whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
Like, I loved it. I still do. And we've had this conversation. There are certainly still parts of me that are alive and well that want to go eat a whole large pizza, right?
I would do it right now.
Yeah.
I feel like doing it right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if that ever goes away.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm friends with, Obese to Beast. And he is just one of the nicest people ever. But he's one of those guys where I'm like, does it go away? Because like, he was big. I'm like, does it go away? And for him, it did. It has gone away. Like, he's just fine eating what he eats. He does eat a pretty regimented diet. Like, he eats pretty much the same thing every single day. And that's how he's been able to like maintain for, I don't even know, like 7 years or something. But like, to me, it's just like it's not even feasible to think that these urges will go away.
Yeah, I'm the same way. And it's scary, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we're not alone in that fear. Can I ask you, so multiple attempts at dieting, multiple attempts at figuring out nutrition, weight loss, all these things. What do you think, like the time that it really made the big shift, what do you think was different?
Well, I had more of a why the time that it made the biggest difference. My why was my son. You know, him being born completely flipped my life upside down in the best way. I was very selfish before I became a father. And I was just like very concerned about my career, about my wants, my needs. I mean, I'd gotten a little bit better, you know, being more attentive to my wife and stuff, but it really wasn't until I became a father that it was like super humbling and super like, this kid is counting on me. Like I need to be around to protect and provide and lead the way for this kid. And I'm not someone that I'm proud of right now. And I'm not someone that I could point at and be like, look, son, be like him. That's not who I was. And that was like really embarrassing for me. And so that really changed my outlook on life. That changed my outlook on my priorities, what I needed to be focused on, what I was doing with my life. It just changed everything. And I'd always known I needed to lose weight. Like, it's no secret, you know, like, oh yeah, I'm 400 pounds. I should lose some pounds. But it wasn't until I had a real purpose that I was able to put any action behind that. So after he was born, that's when I decided, like, I'm going to lose. It was 100 days before his birth, or before his first birthday. And I was like, all right, like, I'm struggling. I need to make a change. I had just read David Goggins' book, and I was like, all right, we're doing this. I'm done with the excuses. It is all in 100%. And that's when I started my first like relentless 100. And I was like, I'm going to lose 100 pounds in 50 pounds in 100 days. And I'm going to change my life. And that's what started it. And that's kind of like where I've been going ever since. And I've had a lot of ups and downs since. It's not like I just changed my mind one day and like everything's been great. My weight has still fluctuated, but my overall journey, my overall mindset has always been never giving up and always just like pushing forward. Whereas before I would go hard for a little bit and then I'd fall off completely. And I've never fallen off completely. I've definitely had some ups and downs, especially now that I've had 2 kids and like the birth of my second daughter and changing jobs, changing states, all these excuses that people use to like, you know, explain the ups and downs of their weight. It's just, it is what it is. Life is kind of like taken, you know, it's toll on my goals, and I let that happen. But my trend has always been down. My trend is always my main focus has always been my weight loss.
I feel like that's really relatable for me and for a lot of others too. There are few stories of people losing 100 pounds and their maintenance being within 3 to 5 pounds.
Yeah.
You don't hear that a lot.
Yeah.
I guess Goggins would be one.
Yeah, Goggins.
But, you know, Goggins.
It's Goggins.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Dude runs on broken legs. Yeah. I have no interest.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not there.
No.
But the story of fluctuation, I think, is one that many of us have and share. I'm not my lightest right now. I went from 312 to 207. Mm-hmm. That was kind of my run. And the lowest I ever got was 202.
Dang.
But I'm probably 225 right now. And I don't feel bad. But, man, I would be lying to you if there aren't days where the body dysmorphia still exists.
Which is so scary to hear because, like, I'll still have that. And like, I'll still wake up some days thinking, like, I don't look any different than I did 400 pounds, you know? And that was 100 pounds ago. And I'm still like, God. Yeah, that body dysmorphia is real, man. It's super real. I remember feeling like, this was like a week ago, And I was like, I look so fat right now. I just remembered feeling I look like I'm just so huge. And my wife took a picture of me, my son, like playing at the park. And I remember her, I could see her out of the corner of my eye taking the picture. I was like, oh God, she's taking a picture of me. I look big. I'm not going to be happy with that picture. And then she posted it and I was like, damn, I look good. What the hell? Yeah. Like, and it's so scary to think like that because, you know, what you tell yourself in your mind is the truth.
Yeah.
And if you fill your mind with that kind of negative talk, you're going to feel negative. You're going to feel bad.
For sure. I think that that's part of the constant battle, though, that has to be fought. Something I do now when I have those thoughts, like most recently, it would have been probably about 10 days ago. But I stepped on a scale, 225. Mind you, my running volume's probably 60, 70 miles a week right now.
What in the H?
At 225. But I don't pay no attention to that. That's not important, right? I'm 225. This is bad. So what I do now, though, when I get into that mode is I put 100 pounds on a barbell and I go and pick it up and just hold it. And I tell myself, no, this is what you lost. Mm-hmm. When you do that, you're like, oh, it's a shitload.
Yeah.
I mean, 100 pounds, think about it going up 100 pounds on a PR or something. You know, it's unheard of. 100 pounds is so much weight. Mm-hmm. It's almost unfathomable. And then it fires me up when we talk about it because I don't know if the 10 to 20 pounds I've put on since my lowest, if the majority of it's muscle, if it's fat, if it's a little bit of both, it's probably a little bit of both. But in my mind, it's strictly fat.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm in a low, dark place.
Of course. Of course.
And to your point, it's about finding ways to rewire that into a positive thinking. Now, that's weight loss we're both talking about already. Like, we lost 100 pounds. I want to talk about the first 10 pounds, how that feels. For me, my experience, first 10 pounds was wonderful. I was fired up on multiple occasions now, mind you. This wasn't, I've lost 10 pounds a lot. Mm-hmm. I've lost 10 pounds many times.
Yeah, yeah.
But that first 10 pounds for me was usually fired me up, usually got me going, usually pretty motivated. So the first 10 pounds for me was never the issue. Are you in alignment with that, or?
Yeah, first I feel like I could shit 10 pounds. You know, like especially when you're that big.
Yeah.
10 pounds is almost nothing. I remember the first month I lost weight, I think I lost 20 pounds the first month. Just because I'm not consuming all the bullshit that I was eating before. You know, I was only drinking water or black coffee. I was only eating chicken and broccoli or eggs. Yeah. That's it. There's no other thing that was going into my body other than that. So, like, yeah, you're going to drop a bunch of weight in the beginning. And that felt great. It felt great. But it was really like when the weigh-in stopped going from double digits to like, oh, I lost 0.6 pounds this week. What?
Yeah.
That's when the real work starts.
Especially when you know you're putting in the work.
Yeah.
When you know you didn't cheat it. When you know you did what you were supposed to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes your body just says, hey, fuck you this week.
Yeah.
Like, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
And it's not because you didn't do the work. It's not because you didn't do the right things. It just happens sometimes. Before we continue down this weight loss journey, the one thing I did want to talk about with the viewer too, another thing, and I was excited about this, but I had the thought today of, at my biggest, what I ate, like what my day looked like.
Oh yeah, this is good. This is fun.
Yeah. So at my biggest, I was in Atlanta, Georgia.
Hey, real quick, a great city to be fat in.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, just like
it's the best
heaven to be fat in. Yeah. Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's great there. This is in the middle of COVID. I would wake up in the morning. On the way to work, I would stop at Einstein's Bagels. I would get 2 blueberry bagels toasted with honey almond spread, 2 large iced lattes. I would get to work within an hour and a half, 2 hours, Uber Eats Chick-fil-A, 2 spicy chicken biscuits, the hash browns, and OJ.
Mm-hmm.
Lunchtime, didn't leave for work typically. Sometimes did, but most of the time would get Chipotle brought in from Uber Eats. And I would get the bowl thinking like, yeah, being healthy. But I would get the chips and the guac and eat the bowl with the chips. So no difference than smashing a burrito. I would leave there, stop at Arby's on the way home. Like I was an eat out guy, but I would stop at Arby's, beef and cheddars, and then they had Jamocha milkshakes. And everyone talks about like these different flavors, but the Jamocha at Arby's is off the charts good. And then at nighttime before bed, it was usually like I thought sushi was healthy, and it is, can be.
Yeah.
Depending on how you deal with it.
Yeah.
But I would get sushi or hibachi because I'm like, oh, it's rice and meat. But I love putting yum yum on it. So I look back at that. If I put that in like my fitness app or the calorie counter today, it's probably between 5,000 and 6,000 calories a day. Easy. And that was on repeat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, like that. So that was my day at my heaviest. And I was curious if you had tabs on like what that might look like for you.
Oh yeah. I did a whole video on, so I have an eating disorder, and it's binge eating. And so I did a whole video on what a typical binge meal was for me back in the day. And it's a lot of food. You know, my typical binge meal was about 6,500 calories. And then that's just one meal. And I would eat that a couple times a week. I would binge probably 2 or 3 times a week at the most. Because you'd binge on like a Monday, and you'd feel so sick on Tuesday that there's no way you could binge Tuesday, but maybe you felt good enough to binge on Wednesday. No matter what, I'm definitely binging like a Friday or Saturday night. There's no question. But a typical day would be McDonald's in the morning, 2 bacon McGriddles, 2 sausage McGriddles. So 4 McGriddles in the morning. Easy, dusted those, because McGriddles is the greatest breakfast sandwich known to man.
Banging.
So good.
Yeah.
Can't even be around one.
Yeah.
Don't want to see it. Don't want to smell it. They're so good. And so I would have 4 of those. And then lunch, honestly, because I was always like a private bad eater. Publicly, I'll have the quinoa and chicken.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll get a salad, Diet Coke in front of people. But then when I was by myself, it was like game on. So I never really liked to eat because I was so self-conscious. I had such low self-esteem when I was so big that I was very, very self-conscious about what I was eating, what I was doing, what I was wearing, where I was sitting, how I was sitting, anytime I was around people, because I just felt like everyone was eyeing me. Like if I thought that someone would see me eating a McGriddle, they'd be like, oh, look, of course the fat guy's eating a McGriddle. Yeah. You know, so I honestly didn't eat bad for lunch because I ate lunch in front of everyone. I think my biggest, I was working at a video game studio, which lends to obesity. Honestly, like we had a bunch of snacks, we had like free lunches, we had free food delivered all the time, we had donuts in the morning. I mean, just like crazy amount. We had a keg of beer in the office. I mean, people would serve themselves a pint of beer at like 10 o'clock in the morning, not blinking an eye, you know? So it was not a healthy work environment, but when I would be around people, I wouldn't eat bad. So lunch, I would eat healthy, but then on the way home from work, that's typically when the binge meal happened, because I would commute for work. So I'd leave work in LA or South Orange County or wherever I was working at the time, and it's typically like an hour at the minimum to get home. I'd stop right away somewhere at usually a Jack in the Box, and my go-to order, Jack in the Box, jalapeno poppers, 4 dollar tacos, a ultimate bacon cheeseburger, large supersized fries, large Coke, strawberry milkshake, and 2 chocolate chip cookies. That was standard. My go-to. Oh, and 2 chicken sandwiches, spicy chicken sandwiches. That was my go-to Jack in the Box order. Any binge meal I would have, if it was a typical binge meal, that would be what I would eat. And I would either post up somewhere in the parking lot, throw on Netflix, pop it up on my phone, and just have I just call it a little me time, you know? Mm-hmm. And I would eat that food as fast as I could because I knew I think subconsciously I knew I'd feel sick if I ate slowly, and I didn't want to waste food, and so I would just like eat as much as I could, as fast as I could. And then like, after that, I don't know if you have like done binge eating, but like the shame you feel after a binge meal is like so intense. And I can't tell you how many times I've been in a parking lot somewhere, dark, late at night, wrappers all over the place, and I say to myself, I can't believe I did this. That's it. That was my last binge meal. I'll never do this again. And then I'm back on fucking Thursday.
Yeah.
That was a typical day. And, then I'd go home and then eat dinner with my wife.
Yeah.
So like I'd binge, and then I go home and have to eat some type of, and my wife has been so supportive. She's always been thin and always, been fit. And she would always like prepare like a healthy dinner. So I'd eat some type of like salmon and veggies or fish or something for dinner. But that's my typical day.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up binge eating. I also play in that world and have played in that world for quite some time. And when we were having a conversation at lunch a couple weeks ago, I had told you that for me, and this is my experience, right? Like this isn't to say everyone's experience is the same. This was my experience. But controlling my food cravings, not binge eating, and losing 100 pounds was harder for me than getting off drugs and alcohol. And I don't say that as a slight or, I fully understand the difficulty of the chemical dependence and drugs and alcohol and what that looks like and psychological dependence. And I get it. I just say that to say like losing weight and a lot of weight and controlling your cravings to me is the hardest thing. I still deal with it today. There isn't a part of me that wants to go drink and do drugs today. Not a single part of me.
Right.
But there is a part of me that wants to binge eat.
Dude, that's so important to talk about because there's so many people out there dealing with the exact same thing that we're dealing with. And there's so many secret people who would never admit to binge eating or who are struggling with it secretly. And they're told by people when they say something like food's an addiction or it's harder, to do this than to quit drinking or drugs or whatever, they are met with, you're just fucking lazy. Mm-hmm. You're just making excuses. You're just fat and lazy. And it's like, man, I wish that were true. Losing weight has been the hardest thing I've ever had to do, and I'm continuing to do. I'm still losing weight. I mean, like it doesn't go away. That's like what we were just saying. It's like these urges, the binge. It's dark, man. It is dark. There's not. I mean, I like to make jokes and I'll like laugh certain stuff off, but it's hard and it's dark and it's thankfully I never tried drugs because I knew how I was with food. I was like, fuck, if I try a drug, I'm dead. Like there's no way. So I never did that. But to hear your story, that's why it's just so powerful and so important for you to talk about that stuff, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who believe that. They believe that they're fat and lazy and that they, what's wrong with me? Why is it so hard for me? It must not be hard for anyone else. No, it's just fucking hard.
Yeah, it's fucking rough.
Yeah.
I had an Instagram DM after episode 1, and someone said, if you were doing so much cocaine, how are you so fat? I said, well, that's a great question. That's a wonderful question. Because I was eating 6,000 calories a day.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter how much dope you do if you're still consuming that amount of food. When I look back on it now, though, it just shows me truthfully how much pain I was in. Mm-hmm. I couldn't fill it with food. I couldn't fill it with dope. I couldn't fill it with alcohol. I couldn't fill it with anything.
Yeah.
And I say that to say, or like to create an understanding around not just addiction with drugs and alcohol, but addictions and challenges with food. They might not be siblings, but they're cousins. Mm-hmm. There's some scary similarities between the two. And
they're real close cousins.
Yeah.
Those weird too close
They
cousins.
kind of grew up together. And
yeah, it's like, what's going on there with those
Yeah.
two cousins? They're that kind of cousins.
Yeah, it's super. Yeah, that's such a good point. But they're close.
Yeah.
And for me, and in my experience, I think that a lot of the challenges that pushed me to drugs and alcohol were the same challenges that pushed me to food. And really it was me, my own self-esteem, my own unresolved issues and things that I refuse to look at or work through. The list goes on and on and on. But at the end of that list, and I look back at it in retrospect, they were all things that I was doing to contribute to, right? I wasn't helping my case by overeating, by doing drugs, by drinking. I had to come to a place where I was willing to give up everything to find out what that was that I needed help with. And everything for me was food, drugs, and alcohol. So that leads into the next thought process of when the weight loss starts, you get past that first 10 pounds. We talked about, plateaus, what that's like. I think it's also difficult to describe to someone what it's like to be in a caloric deficit for a year. That's not just physically, right? I want to make sure we're on the same page there. Not just what it feels like physically and feeling weak or tired, but what that does to you mentally and emotionally.
Dude, it's a year of restricting yourself. It's a year of restriction, which I actually don't even recommend anymore. And that's why I'm working with a coach now who just tells me what to do. Because if it was up for me, I would just do relentless 136, all year long, which I did that before. And it didn't have any long-lasting results. It didn't make me hit any of my goals because by the end of the year, I was so tired and so just burn out on the weight loss thing that I was like, man, fuck this. I'm going to Jack in the Box, or whatever. I never binged again, but it's still it's just too much and for no real reason. So now I'm on I have weeks of a cut. I have weeks of a few days of a refeed, a few days, a week or so of maintenance, and then we're back on the cut. And that helps so much. Helps so much to next week I'm traveling for work. There's no stress. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to prep my food, but there's going to be a few things that are maybe outside of the plan. And that's totally fine because this week I am so dialed in and I'm working with my coach. And we've talked about that. We were just talking for, just a few days ago, just to help get this plan in order to make sure we're still aligned with our goals and we're still, doing everything we're supposed to be doing. So working with a coach has been life-changing for me. And my coach, Sam Okolina on Instagram, Sam OK Fit, he has helped me so much. He's stuck with me for years. He's been my friend I think we've been friends for 4 years. And he's one of those guys that's doesn't ask for anything, just wants to see you succeed. And he's a professional bodybuilder and a great dad, a great husband. I really respect him as a man. And he's helped me a lot. So that's been huge for me. Whereas in the past I didn't have that, and so I would do too much, too long. I would do it for a year. I would do it, whatever, and that's just too much. And it's like I said, it's just not necessary to do that. And it's probably, has a negative impact. It's had negative impacts on me trying to do it that hard for that long. Yeah,
I was thinking about that a lot today. And I asked myself, I was having this conversation on the drive up here, and I was like, I knew what my fat kid day looked like, right? When I was binge eating. And then I thought back to what my day looked like when I was on that original mission starting July 19th, 2020, and what the next 12 to 14 months looked like. And it was eerily similar, right? Every day. It was a lot of chicken, Brussels sprouts, a little bit of broccoli, a lot of eggs, and Fage, I think is how they pronounce it, 0% Greek yogurt. But I ate that pretty much every day.
Yeah.
And I will tell anyone who asks me today, that was horrible.
Yeah.
It was horrible. It got the weight off, sure. Like, no complaints there. But what it did to me in other areas, I don't know if it was really worth it.
Yeah.
You know,
it almost worsens your relationship with food.
It does. 100%. And it got to a point where I was like, well, I'm terrified to have anything tasty or good.
Yeah, dude. Yes.
Because I'm going to go so far off the deep end that there's no turning back if I just get a glimpse of something good, because I have accustomed myself to eating chicken, Brussels sprouts, Greek yogurt, eggs over and over and over again. So it didn't create any balance in my lifestyle or the way that I interacted with food. I basically went from one end of the spectrum to the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still learning on how to make those two things mesh appropriately. The difficult thing that I try to tell people now that ask, like when they say, hey, I want to lose weight, I want to lose 100 pounds. I'm like, okay, slow down for a second. Losing 100 pounds and finding a weight that you can lose and establish maintenance on don't have to be the same thing.
Yeah.
Maintenance there are days in maintenance that it was easier for me to lose weight. Like, that's how it is now. Because I feel like as you get older, it's harder. So like sometimes just to maintain is harder than I remember it being losing the weight.
Yeah.
And that mentally messes with me too.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like what you said is great advice. Find a coach.
Yeah.
Like, there's plenty of podcasts and YouTube videos out there of like that simplify weight loss. And like, it is true. If you eat less calories than you burn, you will lose weight.
That's the secret to weight loss right there.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
Right.
It's very hard. I know how to lose weight. I know.
Right.
I mean, I work for a freaking supplement company.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing. The hard part is telling myself it's okay to take a week off. It's okay to be in maintenance for the next 2 weeks. It's okay to have a refeed day with, healthy. And I'm trying to communicate this to my kids too, because the last thing I want is to have my kids a bad relationship with food like I do. My kids have a great relationship with food. They listen to their bodies. They eat food, and I categorize food. I don't demonize food like this is bad, this is good, because that's what I do. For them, this food gives you long-lasting energy. This food doesn't. If you eat a lot of this food, it might upset your tummy. Listen to your body. And it's like trying to tell this stupid brain here, hey, listen to your tummy, dude.
Yeah.
Your tummy's going to hurt. Or like, you need some long-lasting energy. And it's okay to have this food. That's what a coach does for me. I know all the science of it.
Yeah.
It's the mental battles that the coach is so huge with, because I think like, I shouldn't have that. I'm like, Sam says it's fine. Sam knows what he's talking about. Just chill out. This is your refeed day, or this is your maintenance week. It's all good.
Yep.
That's
huge. I'm the same way with nutrition and with fitness. Having a coach for me has changed everything, where it's just like, they're the professional, they're the expert. They're not going to lie to me. They like having my business, right? They're not going to intentionally like try to lie to anyone to make their business look bad. So it's like, I can listen to them and I can follow these different things and find success that way. It takes the mental load off, where when I lost the weight, I didn't have a coach. There was no nutrition coach. And if I thought about a different food, I thought I was gaining weight.
right.
That's how obsessed I got, with that whole process. But I was also depleted in so many ways that I didn't even know.
Mm-hmm.
Just by eating what I was eating. I was training for an Ironman while in 1,000 calorie a day deficit.
That's insane.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought I was going to die daily.
Of course.
Like getting up like,
because you probably were close to it.
Yeah.
Like, honestly.
Yeah, my body was out. It was out. It was on E. And I remember being afraid when I first hired my triathlon coach to train for the Ironman. And she's like, Trip, you have to take in carbs. I was like, oh, I can't do that. She's like, no, you have to, or you won't be able to do the workouts. It will not happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being afraid to even have a gel.
That's so, yeah, man. I mean, that's the mental gymnastics that, you know, being in a deficit for that long will do to you.
Yeah, it creates it like, to your point, it creates a super negative relationship with food in the same way overeating does. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about within not just overeating and then undereating, but what do you think contributes the most to successful maintenance? Like, what would you say what's the solution there? And this isn't just for me, but for the listener too. How do we get to a place where we feel confident in maintenance?
Dude, honestly, I'd love to know. Because, I mean, that's been my biggest struggle. And it's not even like I'm trying to be. There was a while that I was just trying to maintain, and I did for a while. After my second was born, I put back on weight, and you know, my lowest weight was 250, and then I had slowly, like, it creeps up on you. I was training for a marathon, and I was running, and when you're running, you can really eat whatever you want because you're burning so much all day. I mean, I was just burning calories like crazy. And then I got injured, didn't change eating habits. And not that I was eating, mind you, this is the other misconception. It's not like I was eating pizza and burgers all day.
Yeah.
I was eating healthy food,
right?
But a lot of healthy food. I was, you put in, avocado on everything. You put on, your organic, almond butter on this, and your, Greek yogurt on that, and honey and this and that. These are calories are just stacking, right? And so I wasn't changing my intake, my caloric intake, but my caloric burn was dropped tremendously because I was injured and I wasn't running as much. And so over the course of like months and a year, I put back on a lot of weight, and I was back up at like 305, and that's 50 pounds. And then then I have another kid, and then it's like life, and I was in the hospital for a little while, and I had a whole other health incident. So it was like there's a lot of things going on in the background, and then it's like one day I wake up, I'm 333 pounds again, and it's like, dude, 333, that's a lot of weight you've put back on. And so that's why I started another Relentless 100, because I don't know how to maintain. I've been struggling with that, and it's a hard thing to do. And I mentioned, Obese to Beast, John. John's been able to maintain, and it's just, I think the secret and like what he does, he eats the same food every single day.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the answer. I don't know if that's what people want to hear, but like,
it works.
It has worked for him for 7 years.
Yeah.
And for people like me and you, it's different. We're different than other people. And I think that's like maybe the scary thing that people don't want to talk about, or people want to admit, like, oh, like I'll be able to have like pizza again, or I'll be able to have burgers again. And like, maybe you will, but you're going to have to treat it a little bit differently. You're going to have some mental gymnastics that you go through different than other people. And it is what it is, because we are different. Once you've been on that side of binge eating, once you've been on that side of being morbidly obese, and you've had that affect you mentally and physically in your life, you're different.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, man. I don't know what the secret is to maintenance. But when you figure it out, I need you to text me, because
I'll definitely let you know.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not sure there is a secret. To your point, and to the Obese to Beast story, maintenance might look like the same thing every day.
Yeah.
And I go back and forth on that, on if that's the life that I want. Because there is something to be said about how it feels to be in maintenance and holding your weight. Like, that gives you good self-esteem, good empowerment, good energy. But like, you mentioned the running and how that plays in. For instance, if I'm running on average 10 miles a day, the first thing I think about is how many calories that buys me.
Yeah, dude, That's different.
Yeah, that's not normal.
That's not normal.
Yeah, most people are like, I've heard people that are training for different events and races, and they'll say things like, I don't know how I'm going to get this much food in, how I'm going to carb load for this race. And I'm like, oh, I do. I know exactly what I'm going to do.
I want to run just so I can carb load.
Yeah.
What carbs are encouraged? Amazing.
Yeah.
Count me in.
Yeah. So we think of it differently. We deal with it differently.
Yeah.
So I think that that's an important thing to highlight. As you move through your journey, your weight loss journey, it might not look exactly like anyone's you've seen online.
Yeah.
You've got to figure it out for you.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
And it's not going to be straight down. It's not going to be a slope of just like decreasing numbers. That's not how anyone's journey is. And those that are that way, great. It works for them. Overwhelmingly, it's not that way.
Right.
I've been doing this for a long time. I've been documenting my journey for a long time. It's hard to admit I've gained weight. It sucks to admit I've gained weight. But I feel like if I don't admit that I've gained weight, that it's like, well, what the fuck am I doing this for anyway? If I'm just going to lie to the people that are putting trust in me to tell them what this shit is really like, you know? And so that's why it's just been so nice this year that I've got my, you know, like Stella got her groove back. I'm like, got that fire back this year. It's just been a really, really good year because last year was so dark for so many different reasons. And to be back down 30 pounds is like, oh damn, I still got it. Like I can still do this thing, and I'm fired up right now, and I'm grinding in a healthy way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I have, to this extent, figured out how to do it in a much better way this time where, you know, I'll have, like, if my wife's having, I mean, we just went out and all the kids got, you know, both kids got cupcakes. Meredith got a cupcake. I'm not going to eat a cupcake, obviously. I'm grinding. I'm on my Relentless 100. I'm not going to eat a cupcake. Am I going to have a bite? Sure. And that bite was enough because I was like, dang, that is sweet. Delicious, but really sweet. And I'm all good. I had my, like, I scratched that itch. I know what that cupcake tastes like, you know? And, yeah, so it's just, it's important to for people like us to keep it real, to you know, especially in this Ozempic-ridden world, dude. To like just keep it real and be like, this is a hard thing to do, and there's going to be ups and downs, and it's okay. You're not a failure because you gained 5 pounds back or 10 pounds back or 80 pounds back. Like your boy gained 80 pounds back. I used to be 250. I ran a marathon, did a half marathon, Spartan races. I thought I was rid of this. And then you flash forward 2 years, and I got 2 kids and a different job, and I'm in a different state. I'm up 80 pounds, and you're like, what the hell happened? How could this have happened? How could this have happened? It happens to everyone if you take your eyes off the prize, if you let up. You know, if you get comfortable, this is what happens.
Yeah, I love that explanation for it. The other connection I have in that explanation to your story is the first time I lost weight, I felt like I had something to prove. And that was my why. It was like, watch this.
Yeah.
Check this out. You're going to like this. You know, this is going to sting a little bit. That was my OG purpose. I had a fluctuation off of that where I gained probably 20 to 25 pounds, maybe 30. And I was in the office one day, and a guy I worked with came up behind me and grabbed my love handle. And he's like, where'd this come from?
I would murder that guy.
And I turned around and looked at him, and I was like, all right, give me 30 days. Watch this. So 30 days later, that drove me.
Yeah.
30 days later, I came back in. I was like, go ahead, grab it. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, my love handle, grab it. He's like, you still remember that? I was like, yeah. For someone like me, that hit deep.
Of course.
And I'd probably, in a very unhealthy way, lost 20 pounds in that month.
Of course.
And that's not where you want to be either. Where I feel like I am now is it has to be for me first. It can't be because someone pissed me off or someone made fun of me.
Yeah.
it's got to be because it's what's best for Trip. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a part of maintenance. When it's when you're depending on someone to prove wrong all the time, that ammo can run out. But when you're doing it for yourself and for your kids, your family,
yeah,
that ammunition is always loaded.
Even if you're doing it for your kids, though, like what I've found is you got to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
You have to. You have to do it because you love yourself. You love your body. And for people that have been morbidly obese, that's hard because I feel like there's a little bit of a correlation between some morbid obesity and some self-hatred. Mm-hmm. And so if you're like, you need to find this reason for yourself because you love yourself. Oh, I don't. So why am I doing it? Because like, there's no point. And while initially I did it for my son, what I came to realize, especially when I was training for my marathon, it was like, my son's going to be proud of me whether I finish this marathon or not. So if I get to mile 18 and I'm having a breakdown and I tell my son one day, like, hey, I ran 18 miles and I couldn't finish my marathon, he's going to be like, Dad, that's amazing. You ran 18 miles. I'm so proud of you. That's okay. He's not going to give me shit for it. He loves me. He's my son. So what is going to get me those extra 8 miles? It's got to be for me.
Yeah.
I want those 8 miles. Because my wife, my family, everyone's going to be proud that I even crossed the start line. So what the fuck is going to get you to the finish line? It has to be something within you. Because your family, your son, your kids, your wife, they're not enough to get you across that finish line. As weird as that sounds, it's not enough. You have to find a reason within you to do these things because it's so hard. Everyone else is going to give you the out before the finish line. They're going to give you the out because they're proud of you. They're going to give you the out because they love you. You need to have a reason to stick to not give yourself the out to be able to get across that finish line. Otherwise, you'll never make it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's deeply true. I also had some feedback on the proud that triggered something with him. You're talking about family being proud, people being proud. Mm-hmm. I said something on the first episode. There was a moderator here, my buddy Brett, and he asked me, are you proud of yourself? And my answer to that was not yet. And I received some feedback on that. People saying, you should be proud of yourself. You should be proud. We're so proud. Everyone's proud. And I wanted to take a second, if that's cool with you, to talk about why I said that.
Yeah.
And what that really means to me. Because someone asked me specifically, if someone with your story, like if they presented that story to you, would you be proud of them? And I said, absolutely. I would be proud of them. But for me to be proud of me, it feels a little bit different. Because I think the reason there's a lack of pride at times within me is because I think there's more on the table. Like I know I could do more.
Yeah.
I know I could not have that extra snack, treat, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what keeps me from being overly proud. I'm also terrified of pride because pride for me kept me in a lot of addiction. Mm-hmm. Kept me overeating. Like it was closely tied to ego and these different things. But pride for me is a dangerous thing. It's also a beautiful thing, but I have to be very careful with it.
Yeah.
Because if I become proud of myself, so proud of myself that I don't think that there's work to be done, I know how that ends.
Yep.
I will slip right back off.
Same.
And to the viewer, it wasn't that we can't be proud of others. I'm so proud of so many people and think that their journey's amazing. For me, my biggest fear is ever returning back to where I started. I'm terrified of it.
Dude, I have nightmares of that. I wake up and I'm 406 pounds again.
Yeah, I don't want that.
No.
And if there's things in my journey that I feel like contributed to that, I'm very careful with them. So that's what I meant when I said not yet. Mm-hmm. Maybe one day. But right now, there's still work to do.
Yeah.
And that purpose, the purpose that I feel for myself, for people like you, for other people that have been on the show and that are going to be on the show, the purpose is to share our message so that whoever is out there right now going through everything we just talked about knows, oh shit, there are people out there who understand.
Yeah.
There are people out there that have been through it and they found success in it and they fucked it up.
Yeah.
Right. I think that not being alone in this journey might be the biggest part of the journey, like having connection. And so that kind of leads into my next question for you within the connection piece. How big has it been to be a part of the BPN family for you and your journey?
Well, I want to touch on something you just said real quick, and then I'll jump into BPN. But I think maybe something that you could think on is, and this is taking me a long time to like kind of think of this. I didn't think of this, but just to like accept this for myself. I think like where I've come from in my family, in my life, like where I've come from in my own personal journey, like there's a lot that I've learned this over time. There's a lot that I am proud of my journey. And I have moments of reflection, and I kind of got this mindset when I started meditating. I meditate every single day, 10 minutes a day. And a lot of this comes from that time of like self-reflection. And I have found now that I am proud of where I've come. I am proud of who I am, but I'm not satisfied.
It's a much better way to put it.
And that is, I think, what has been the distinction for me is I am proud. Mm-hmm. I'm proud of being a college dropout and progressing in my career despite that. I'm proud of coming from, like the childhood that I had to who I am now. I'm proud of the father I am. I'm proud of the husband that I am. I'm proud of all those things, but I'm not satisfied because I know there's still more on the table. I know, obviously, where I'm at in my life right now, weight loss wise. I'm proud of what I've done physically and with weight loss and putting it out there in the world. I'm proud of that, but I'm not satisfied. I know there's so much more work to do. And so that switch, I think it helps me stay positive in my mind, and it helps me not shit on myself so much, because that's something that I have to be very careful with, is not being so negative to myself. And so that distinction between pride and satisfaction is very, very different, and it's been helpful for me a lot.
That helps me a ton. I've never put it together that way, but that is how I feel.
Yeah, good.
There's tons of pride in my journey, mm-hmm. and who I've become and who I'm working towards. I'm just not satisfied.
Yeah. And that's fine. Yeah. You shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I mean, for people like us to get satisfied, I'll see you at the drive-thru line if we get satisfied. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, that's not going to be healthy for us.
Yeah.
Satisfaction is very dangerous.
Yeah.
Comfort is very dangerous. But I feel like we should, just as men talking, being open and vulnerable with each other, that's something to be prideful about.
Yeah.
That's a big thing for anyone to do, but men to do. I feel like, I try to talk to some people and they're like, "Oh, I never cry.
Yeah.
I'm a man.
I like to cry."
Dude, I'm a fucking crybaby. Especially after kids. I'll cry the drop of a dime. And so it's just, I think this is important what we're doing, and I think you should be proud of a lot of things that you've done and where you've come in life. And I think for someone to overcome what you've overcome is incredible, and that is something you should absolutely be proud of. Just not satisfied, and that's okay.
Yeah. I feel so much better about that. So what he said, that's how I feel. Yeah, he put it perfectly. So you cool with transitioning into
absolutely
what working in that community's been?
Yeah. I mean, like, BPN is full of the cream of the crop go-getters, just people that, like, someone is always training for something, Every weekend, I feel like there is another BPN employee that is, like, running a marathon, doing a 100-miler. It's insane. And so to be someone from my background, coming into a workplace like that, it was intimidating at first, you know. There was a, like, especially when I first started, or like even when I was an ambassador and an athlete for BPN, I felt like, man, I don't belong here. Like, this is crazy that I'm an athlete for BPN. I should not be an athlete for BPN. Like, this is weird. Like, they've got, you know, this NFL player, you know, Logan Wilson's on the team. They got, you know, these incredible Russell Orhee, you know, they got Ryan Dangler, and then me, like, hey, you know, like, that's crazy. I shouldn't be here. And I think I felt a lot of that throughout life, you know, and I think that's something that I've had to get over and something that I've had to accept and something that I've, you know, going back to the pride thing, it's like, no, fuck that. I am proud. I should be here. I deserve to be here. I've worked my ass off. I have something to say. I have a message that's important. I have a journey that's an important journey and an important, you know, message to spread, and it's going to help people. And like, fuck it. I do deserve to be here. It's been hard to do that, and I don't feel like that every day, but that's what I try to tell myself and try to remind myself of, because I suffer from that, you know, negative self-talk, that it's like, you have to sometimes put on a front to feel that, to psych yourself up. But, you know, having someone like Nick, as like your boss, your leader, is like, it's unlike any other job I've ever been at. I mean, Nick is one of the most generous, helpful people I've ever been around, and there's so much that happens like behind the scenes, you know, like I can text Nick about anything and he will respond and help, and that is more valuable than you could imagine, you know. So working at BPN is something special. It's an incredible company, incredible team, and a mission that I am 100% behind, and it's just so cool that like I get to play a part in that brand's journey, you know. Like, that is, I've worked at a lot of places. I've worked in advertising for over a decade, and I've created advertisements and marketing material for products that are total bullshit, products that I don't believe in, products that I don't even think people should be using. And that's just the way marketing is. And so now the fact that I can actually do the journey of being a consumer first and using BPN products, and then becoming an ambassador, and then becoming an athlete, and now becoming an employee, and moving through BPN. Like, when I first started, I was a media director, and now, you know, partnerships. It's like, that is a journey that is like, I can take pride in, and I can believe in the stuff that I'm talking about, because like, I took this before I even had any association with BPN. I was taking their protein and their greens, you know, and their pre-workout. And so it's like, now it's like, I can actually put people on things that I truly believe in, and something that I'm truly proud of, and products that literally could change people's lives, because it changed mine, you know. And not that it's like, oh, you take this protein, or scoop of protein, it's going to change your life, but it's like the meaning behind it, right, and the mission behind it. It's like, dude, it's just something that I'm so grateful for and so proud of.
Yeah, I love that, and I think there's something so special about someone with your story being the director of partnerships for Bear Performance Nutrition. Like, that is badass. Like, I love that.
Thank you, man.
It's huge, and it's huge for anyone, but it's huge for the people that are in our community, right? Just because you're 406 pounds today, a couple years from now, you might be the director of partnerships for one of the best supplement companies.
Dude,
it's crazy.
I was literally just talking about this with Hope. I run partnerships with Hope Murray. She's a freaking badass. Love working with her. And so it's the two of us, and I was just talking about it with her. I was like, this is crazy, dude. Like, going from being 400 pounds and watching Nick on YouTube to now I'm working side by side with Nick now in his company. Dude, what the fuck? It's so weird, surreal. And like I said, it's just like, just something I'm super proud of. Yeah.
Yeah. So the supplements also tie us, right?
Yeah.
In a unique way. When I first started my transformation, I won't lie, this was my supplement. this was my supplement story. Transformation started. The first YouTube I came across was Jocko Willink.
Yeah.
And so I went on, it was Jocko Molk, I think was the protein. Did it for a while. They had pumpkin smash flavor. I'm a big pumpkin like type of person. I am proud of that. Either way, after that February, that freeze, when I saw Nick training for one of his Ironman competitions, I was like, well, I got to try this guy's products. Central Texas, that's where I'm at now. You know, I got to give this thing a shot. And it was, you know, strong greens, strong reds, strong joints, the multivitamin, and then Flight, the creatine. I mean, Endo Pump.
Damn.
You know, the whey protein.
That's a stack.
My favorite whey protein flavor is the Nutter Butter Blast. That's my go-to.
Same.
But like those supplements were a huge part of my journey. And BPN was a huge part of my journey. I never interacted really with anyone in BPN other than you, right? Through social media. But like I felt what you guys built there and what was built there, I think so many people felt it. So much so, I mean, I got Go One More tattooed on my arm.
That's wild.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. I'm sitting here now thinking about that. Like why?
What's crazy to me is like there's a lot of people with Go One More tattooed on them.
Yeah.
You know? And what's so powerful about that and about BPN, not to just make this a whole BPN commercial, but it's something that I'm very passionate about, and
for sure,
you're obviously passionate about it too. But what's so crazy is like, how many tattoos of Just Do It are there? Probably not a lot.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like every day Nick's getting tagged and people on Instagram posting like they got the Go One More tattoo. And Go One More is so much more than just like some like marketing slogan.
Right.
Like it's not a marketing slogan. It was literally born out of training. It was born out of Nick pushing himself. And like he's the example. Like he leads from the front, you know? He's about that life. Like there's just it's just so crazy to like have like a founder and CEO that's like actually fucking about it. Like we did a team workout the other day and he just crushed us. Oh God, dude, my chest was like like it was so sore for days. And I was like, this is so sick that like, you know, like he is really about it. And it's really cool and to be a part of something like that.
Coach Prime, I saw an interview he had today. Love Coach Prime, by the way. He had an interview, though, and they were talking to him about interactions with people in today's generation, younger players. And he said it straight up. He's like, it doesn't matter what you say anymore. Can you do it?
Yeah.
They want to hear it and see it. Generations prior, as long as you could say it, it was impactful. But now people want to see it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what resonated with so many people, at least from my perspective, around the whole BPN thing. It was like, this guy's the CEO.
Yeah.
And he's out here just acting a fool at 5 a.m., like hammering miles doing something.
Dude, yeah, man. I mean, it's like, it's so much more than just like powders in a tub.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot of companies with powders in a tub. I think ours are the best.
Right.
But it's just so much more than that. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. So transitioning from that, what gets Tony going today? Right? Is it Tony? Or is what's that next thing?
For me, the thing that always has fired me up, and I get this question on Instagram a lot. I literally just got it yesterday morning, and so it's just like right here on the tip of my tongue. But it's like, Tony, how do you stay motivated? What motivates you? Hey, I'm 37 with 2 kids, a demanding job that I love. I'm exhausted. I'm not motivated. I have zero motivation. When my alarm goes off at 5 o'clock in the morning every morning, I look at my watch and I say, fuck, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I just have to get up. I just have to. There's nothing that gets me like, you know, of course, songs and there's different moods. And sometimes I am motivated. Sometimes I'm like feeling it. I'm like, yeah, let's go. most of the time, 98% of the time, that alarm goes off and I say fuck first thing in the morning because it's like, fuck, man, it's early. I'm tired. I got a whole day. I really got to get out and get up. It's dark outside. Everyone in my house is asleep and looking all comfy. I got to get up and go work out. And it's just like, yeah, you do, because I'm not motivated. I'm disciplined. And that's it. And it's just been built off of a ton of consistency. And I wish I could say it's like that every day or like it was like that. Last year, I had no consistency. Last year, I was all over the freaking place. That's why this year has been so powerful for me, because I've gotten my consistency back. I've gotten my discipline back. And that's really what it is. That is what gets me going, is the compound effect of consistency. That and probably some Kanye.
Some Kanye.
I throw some Kanye in the headphones and I can pretty much do anything.
I like that song, Jail. Have you heard it?
What, Jail?
It's called Jail by Kanye.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what it is.
There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah. Kanye is awesome.
A lot of people hate Kanye, and I totally get it.
I get it, but hey.
You can't defend the guy. But
I like his music.
His music's great. It's great.
Your answer, though, to that is perfect, I think, because whether it's weight loss, sobriety, working out, training for a race, studying for a test, whatever it is, whatever the next goal is, or the thing that you're doing, or the thing that you're working towards, it's going to require dedication and consistency. There are going to be more days than not where you don't wake up like, fuck yes, let's go kill this workout.
Yeah.
So if you're at home and you're like, I'm not motivated, newsflash, you're not alone.
Neither are we.
Yeah. That happened to me today. And you know what I told myself this morning? It's daylight savings, dude. Like, give yourself a break. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
But you know what I did? I said, fuck. Let me put on my shoes.
Yeah.
Let me get out the door. And 10 minutes later, it's like, I'm so glad I did this.
Of course.
And I think that's the other important part of the message. There isn't, in my experience, there isn't a workout that I've done yet that I've walked away from with regret. Mm-hmm. There are many meals that I have sat down and eaten that I have walked away from with tons of regret.
Yeah.
And so that helps me too, sometimes, to play the tape forward. Say, okay, this is how I feel right now. But how am I going to feel in an hour? How am I going to feel in 2 hours? And if the answer to that is like shit, there's no reason to do it because I feel like shit right now.
Yeah. Thinking that way is what has kept me from having a binge meal, is focusing on the feeling afterwards. What is the feeling after? Yes, I feel like having a binge right now. Yes, I feel like having this snack from the gas station right now. But what is going to be the feeling afterwards? And I literally think about it, and I think, I'm going to eat this. I'm going to feel like shit. And then that's going to make me eat like shit tonight. And then tomorrow for breakfast, I'll probably eat like shit again. And then, I'll be like, you know what? I'll just reset and I'll be back on my grind on Monday. And then it's like a whole shit storm of feeling like shit because of one snack. Yeah. And maybe that's not true and that's dramatic, but it's still like that could happen. That's the reality of it sometimes. So it's like having those mental check-ins with yourself and focusing on the feeling afterwards has saved me so much.
Yeah. Same thing. Align with that deeply. I heard that. I actually heard that comment, or that strategy, if you will, in the recovery community around drugs and drinking.
Yeah.
An old timer, said, hey, that might look good right now. Probably looks great right now. How are you going to feel tomorrow about that decision? And I clung on to that.
Yeah.
And it works well with food too.
A great strategy.
Yeah, it is. But there's no perfect way. I think that's the other answer. There is no perfect solution to this. It is a grind. It can be a healthy grind or an unhealthy grind, but it is not. It's simple but not easy. You said that earlier. I said that in my first podcast too. Simple and easy are not the same thing.
Yeah.
They're very different. And for those of you out there that are participating in weight loss as we speak, you understand that.
Yeah.
Super simple, super hard.
Yeah.
So that's what I got. Man, I deeply, genuinely appreciate you coming here today, sitting down with me. I think that your story, like so many others, needs to be told more because it's not a small story. To me, it's a big story. And for people like you to put yourself out towards the public, I think changes more lives than you may ever know about. I told you, like, it was important to me. I didn't reach out and tell you that, right away.
Yeah.
It took 4 years for me to say, hey, man, because you were doing that, like, that gave me the sauce one day. And I appreciate you for that. But that's why we do what we do.
Yeah.
It's because it is impacting people, and what you do most definitely impacts people, and it provides so much hope across the board for people that are not just struggling right now, but might be struggling tomorrow. They might be in a great place right now, but they might watch this and say, man, I lost 100 pounds and I put 50 on it back. Oh yeah. Tony talked about that. Like, that's okay. That happens.
Yeah.
It's about what we do next.
Yeah.
Right. So I just appreciate you, bro. That's all.
Well, dude, I appreciate that so much. And, it's just it's the only way I know how to be. It's so much easier going through life just being 100% honest all the time, because then it's not like I'm trying to be someone on Instagram and I'm trying to be someone on YouTube and I'm trying to be someone in my real life. I'm just me, man. And I just don't have time or the energy to try to pretend to be anybody else. And so I really appreciate you saying nice things about me. And I mean, like I said, that's the whole point. And this year I've definitely taken a little bit more of a backseat on posting as much as I used to, just because it just takes a lot of time and a lot of mental energy that I'm really just trying to focus back in on myself right now, because I had such a hard 2023 that this year is my year. And I'm still putting things out. I'm still responding to DMs, of course, but I'm not content isn't my main focus right now. If I feel like posting something, if I feel like making a video, I will. If I go 7 days without posting an update, I'm sorry. But just know I'm here grinding. I'm getting after it, and I'm happy. And it's been a great year, and I appreciate being here. And like I said, I think us being two men having this kind of conversation is really, really important. And I'm happy to help and happy to make sure that other people out there know that this journey is hard, accept that this journey is hard, and accept that you are not alone in it. And, there's nothing wrong with you. It just, the journey is what it is.
100%. And I think given what we scratched the surface on today and got into, I think that there's definitely more conversations to come.
Same time next week. Let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all love. I appreciate you. And that's going to do it for episode 4 of the Ain't Dead Yet podcast.
Oh, yeah.
With Tony Reyes.
Let's go.